Welcome back to the Happy Medium Fit podcast. I'm so happy that you're here because I have given you guys tidbits about my story here and there, but today I'm going to take you from the very beginning when I was 12 years old, having one period my entire life, PCOS, eating disorder, to now being 29 years old as a health and fitness coach who has reversed my PCOS and am now helping other women do the same. So we're going to talk about how everything that you know about fitness and health and wellness is keeping you fat. All right, we're going to take it from the top. From when I was, let's just start at 12 years old because that's when I got my first period, and that's when I feel like the trauma and everything of my life really started taking a toll on me. If you're unfamiliar, I grew up in, for lack of better words, poverty with a single mom, and alcoholism ran in my family, and, food stamps, WIC, whatever. We were not doing the best financially, and so that often led to me fending for myself. I would get home from school, be home alone. I was often babysitting my sister because my mom had to work, and so there wasn't really food in the house. I didn't really know what to eat. Oftentimes I wouldn't eat, or I would just eat whatever the free lunches or free breakfast from school would be, and oftentimes we did not have dinner. And so from my childhood, I never really knew what eating healthy was, or what I'm supposed to eat throughout the day, or what 3 square meals even are supposed to look like. And that really set me up from failure straight from the get. And then later, as I grew up, I always felt like the outcast because no one around me struggled, I felt, as much as I did. And so it really led me to feeling misunderstood. And since I didn't fit in, I would try to almost do things to make it so that I wouldn't fit in. And I wanted to be the tomboy, and I wanted to be, misunderstood because I already felt a lack of love and not being understood. And so I wanted to beat people to the punch and do it myself. And so that led to a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors. And obviously I was young, so I didn't know any better, but it led to me having even it led to me having an eating disorder eventually, because one day I woke up and I started hanging out with some popular girls, and they were so cool, and they were so pretty, and they were so skinny, and they were size 00, and I wasn't. I remember I was like a size 3, and I was like, what can I do to fit in? I want to wear clothes like them. I want to look like them, and all the boys like them. And I never was like promiscuous or like wanted to like be with a bunch of guys, but I definitely did want like the attention. I wanted the validation. I wanted people's approval. I wanted guys to think that I was pretty. And so I went from the tomboy, always wearing, sweaters and baggy sweaters. Even I remember we went to Mexico on a family vacation. It was 100 degrees and I was wearing a baggy sweater, and everyone's like, aren't you sweating? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Meanwhile, I'm literally dying sweating. If you know me, the sweaty gang is literally all my clients, what I call them, because your girl gets sweaty. But I just wanted to convince myself that I was fine so that I could wear baggy clothes and hide under them. It didn't matter what I looked like. I just didn't want people to look at me. I didn't want to be perceived. So eventually I wanted to get skinny and get out of that, right? So I developed an eating disorder and would not eat. I would limit myself to 9 bagel bites a day, a low carb 10 calorie monster, and that was it. And I started losing the weight. And so I started getting praise. I started being able to fit into the clothes, and I got a boyfriend, and all of these things around me were kind of positive reinforcement to that, and reiterating like, yes, the smaller that you get, the better that you are, the prettier that you are, the more friends that you are going to have, the guys are going to like you. And so I decided to do everything I could to stay small. And I wasn't unique to this. I actually had some other of my friends, even developing like bulimia and such. So I know that I wasn't the only one going through this. And a lot of us suffered in silence and didn't talk about it. So it was interesting. A lot of kids had, or a lot of the girls I hung out with had fast metabolisms because they were young. And so they could eat whatever they wanted. I remember my friend could eat like 10 tacos from Taco Bell, and I'd be like stressing over getting one. And I'd be like, yeah, I'll just get one. And she was tiny, and I had to watch everything that went into my mouth because I was just not built like that. So it was kind of dabbling between, fast metabolism and eating disorders for us in 7th grade in middle school. So that was awesome. And that led all throughout high school. Nothing really changed there. But another thing I realized is that my family would give positive reinforcement. Like I had the almond mom who glamorized and glorified not eating, and she was still overweight. My grandma would make comments, and it's a generational thing, so I try to give them grace and extend it to them the best that I can because they don't know any better, but would always make comments about my weight, whether praising me because I was thin or bashing me because I was overweight. There was always comments about it. And there was even comments that she would say about other people to me. So I knew that she was talking about, me, just like she was talking about everyone else behind their back. And it made me subconsciously realize that people do tie your identity and your self-worth to your weight. And, that's not always true. We unlearn that. But we all know we'd be lying if, first impressions don't matter or physical appearance doesn't matter, but it takes it to a certain degree when it's all people talk about when they see you and make comments about when you're eating and when you're at Thanksgiving and when you're at the holidays. And then it really dictates and determines how much I'm going to eat that day because of a comment that someone said to me. So a lot of unhealthy, toxic behaviors and patterns were, passed along to me in addition to not having the resources or proper support in my life, essentially. So I was not set up for success, let me just say that. And then when I did get my first period in middle school, tying it back to PCOS for you guys, it was the heaviest thing ever. It was like someone opened the floodgates, and it was so painful. I had to stay home from school, and just the cramping and the bleeding and everything was so miserable. And I didn't know any better because I'm the older sister. So I didn't know if that was normal. I didn't know if that's just the way that it's supposed to be. But every single year after that, for probably the next 10 years or so, up until my 20s, because I didn't start fixing my PCOS till about, I would say, 2021, which was 5 years ago. So I was about 24 when things started kind of shifting gears and moving in a positive direction. But every year after that, so for about 10 years, that was my reality. I would get my period once a year, and it was like everything all combined into one miserable time for me. And the doctors never cared. I would call in for a sprained ankle or show up, and they, always ask, when was your last period? And I would say, I don't know. I don't get those. Sometimes I get it once a year. And no one batted an eye. And when someone would say something, they would be like, oh, we can just put you on birth control and then it would regulate. And so I kind of didn't know what to do. Once again, didn't know how to advocate for myself, wasn't really aware or had, the health education or awareness about how to navigate that situation. So I kind of just kept putting it off and ignoring it because it didn't seem too alarming to the doctors. It didn't seem too alarming to anybody else. So it didn't seem like a priority or something that I really had to be worrying about at this point. So then fast forward to my last year of high school, and I ended up getting a job as a gymnastics teacher, and it was totally by accident. I thought I was going to be working customer service at the front desk. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but being in that space, I was around obviously other gymnastics coaches and such, and they offered a fitness class for free for the employees who worked there. And one of my coworkers dragged me to the class, and I just started going. I didn't have a reason. I didn't have an incentive. I just went because my friend told me to. And little did I know that one pivotal moment was going to change my life forever. And I would not be here podcasting to you about it without that moment, which is pretty crazy. And I started working out, and it was strength training. It wasn't like Orange Theory or HIIT classes by any means. It was primarily strength training. And I learned how to exercise, and my body changed. And I started getting fit and having curves and a toned stomach and toned arms. And people were complimenting me like, wow, you look good. And I started growing a little butt, and that was huge for me because I literally used to get bullied, you guys, and made fun of for my pancake ass. And it still ain't the biggest because of genetics, but we've come a long way, so I'm proud of that. And so yeah, nothing. I didn't really do it because I hated myself. I was kind of already accepting of my body and where I was at, and, just came to the point of accepting it and was like, whatever, this is just who I am. And so, yeah, that was cool. I was healthy. I was feeling good. And then when I went to college, everything changed. This is when we start heading into PCOS territory for real, for real. So, I was working out, I was eating healthy. I made friends with a couple of the girls that were working out, eating healthy. And so we were all kind of doing the same thing, living the same lifestyle. And I was feeling good about it. I was confident. I knew what to do. I was in the school gym. I was going to Orange Theory. I was eating healthy. Nothing changed, like I went in probably looking and feeling the best and the most confident I've ever been, ever in my wildest dreams. And nothing changed about my routine, but everything changed about my body. I will say binge drinking obviously takes a huge toll, but that was something that I had been doing. And so I don't like to talk about this too much or highlight it too much. It's because it's kind of embarrassing. But I have been drinking, alcohol and abusing it and partying from a really young age just due to the people I would hang around. So we were, dabbling in drugs and alcohol. Also, I would say 8th grade when I was 13 years old. So by the time I got to college, I was already a seasoned vet. Like, there was a lot of people there excited for the college parties, and like I had already been there, done that. But binge drinking every weekend was something I was not new to. So once again, nothing changed about my routine. I would start drinking Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday brunch, go to, school, go to work, and everything was fine. Like, I was the bender queen, and I could outdrink anyone, just saying. So not something I'm proud of. The alcoholism in my family really, shines through on that, but it's just the fact and reality. So obviously that just didn't help. It doesn't help PCOS. It doesn't help your body and stress. And that was my coping mechanism for all of the trauma and all of the things that I've been through. And so I thought that drinking made me also more likable because I was fun and I was silly and I was outgoing and I was spontaneous and I could kind of just be carefree. And being the type A girly that I am, always getting straight A's in school, always being really disciplined, that would be my outlet and my only way to really like let go and be free, because I couldn't, work and study and do all those things when I'm drinking. So it was kind of like type A, Monday through Thursday-ish, getting all my shit done. And then the second the weekend hit, I turned party girl. Like, there was people who used to crack me up because you either knew me as a nerd and you would think that there was never a day where I would go out and party or be cool at all, or you knew me as the party girl and you would be like, what, you go to school? I've never seen you go to school. You're ditching every day. And I'm like, yeah, it's all good. Like, I just get straight A's. Like, I'm fine. So just to kind of give you some more background on my crazy personality and upbringing. So this is where I really want to show you that 5 workouts a day, 10K steps a day, eating healthy, detoxing, the Pinterest fad diets, all of that, fasting, keto, carnivore. This is where I've tried it all. It doesn't work. And starving yourself and restricting yourself is actually just making things worse and keeping you fat. So I had to learn this the hard way. I was a server in college. I had 0 days off, okay? Like, I was busy, but I'd be working I'd be working all day, running around as a server, getting 10K steps a day. I was working out 5 days a week, Orange Theory, the gym, you name it, plus 30 minutes of cardio after each of my sessions. I was doing, detoxes, juice cleanses, fasting, keto, 1,000 calories a day. And I was so overweight. Like I went from 100 pounds in high school, who's not 100 pounds in high school, especially when you have an eating disorder. But when I graduated high school, I was about 110, 115 per my driver's license, and I did not lie. And by the time that it was 2017, it was my last year of college. So, 3 years later, I was like 150 pounds. So gaining 40 pounds, over a couple years is pretty substantial. And I'm 5'1". Like a lot of people don't realize because you're on Instagram or whatever, like how short you are. When people meet me in real life, they're like, oh, you're tiny or you're petite. Like I'm always the smallest. Like I am small. So when you're small and you're that short and you weigh 150 pounds, it's substantial. My face was breaking out. I was inflamed. I had acne. I had the moon face. I literally just remember looking in the mirror and hating myself. I hated my face and how I was breaking out. I hated my body. I hated myself. The self-sabotaging behavior of just drinking and not dealing with, my trauma correctly and, not have healed yet. And, working through that, we'll dive into that in another time. But when you have unresolved trauma and you're using drinking as a coping mechanism and then punishing yourself Monday through Friday, pushing yourself to the point of absolute burnout, thinking that you're taking care of yourself, but really you're digging yourself into a deeper hole and rugging yourself into the ground, like everything kind of just started to like come to a head, I feel like at one time. And I didn't know that I had PCOS. I still wasn't having my period, but I knew something was wrong with me. And I always am a huge advocate of saying like, you don't need the formal PCOS diagnosis to know something's wrong with you. I'd always had a mustache, but now it was like black and thick, like pubes on my face. So many signs, right? Hair all over my body that like in places women don't want hair, like, something's wrong. No period your whole life, rapidly gaining weight despite being the most disciplined and healthy person that like there's going to be signs, right? And so this is when it was really getting, to a head, and I didn't really know what to do. So I started studying. I started learning about all of this myself and taking things into my own hands because the healthcare system honestly truly failed me, and they would just gaslight me or ignore it or brush it off. And the only thing they wanted to give me was birth control. So when I did finally decide to take the birth control, it made everything worse. I gained even more weight. I got even more acne, and I became even more unhappy and angry and aggressive. And my boyfriend at the time said, like, you're kind of a bitch now. What happened to you? So yeah, it wasn't cool. So then I finally decided to get off of it, and I was like, okay, this isn't helping. It's, and I don't even get my period. So then I'm like, why am I even taking this? It's not like I need it as like a contraceptive. Like, it wasn't making sense to me. I was like, I don't even need this. But now, knowing what I know now, if you don't have a period, that as a woman, that is the number one red flag and sign that you are not healthy. Like, our whole entire existence is to have a healthy period. If you didn't know that, this is me telling you, yeah, it might seem convenient to not buy tampons and to not have a period every month and to not suffer and go through all of that. But the longer that you go without the period, the more at risk you are for endometriosis and all of these horrible things. And it makes, fertility down the road so much more difficult for you. And that's why people don't typically find out about PCOS or start doing anything about it until you finally want to have kids. Or because your doctor will literally say, hey, you're good, just come back to me when you want to have kids. So, no. If you do not have a period, you are not healthy. And that should be your number one priority because everything else stems from that. I digress. And so, yeah, I just was left to figure this shit out on my own. And being a hyper-independent type A older sister syndrome that I am, I've already been out here doing this shit all by myself. I've already had to figure everything out in my life by myself. So you know what? Bring it on. I became a health and fitness coach. I began taking on clients. I began learning about the science and the studies behind bodies and everything. And then I came across the term PCOS one day and I was reading it and I was like, oh my God, That's me. I have that. I didn't even know that other women had this problem. Like, I thought that I was just an anomaly. And so I want to let you know PCOS is not just a fertility problem or issue and hormones and, a weight issue. It's a metabolic lifestyle issue. If you are struggling with this, it's not a mystery. It's a metabolism mismatch. Everything is rooted in your metabolism, and we can fix it by just supporting your metabolism and making sure that your daily habits support a proper lifestyle. And a lot of people think it has to be more complicated than that, and take the supplements, drink the teas, go dairy-free, gluten-free, sugar-free, blah, 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 blah. No. All of that made me fatter. All of that made it worse, and none of that is necessary at all. I do not do any of that. I eat like a normal person. I work out 4 days a week. I do not do any cardio. I eat anything that I want. I don't take any crazy specific PCOS supplements or drink any teas. I just have a healthy routine that is balanced and make sure that my lifestyle matches up, because I have boosted my metabolism. I reset my metabolism to factory reset, and it comes from eating more food. I eat 2,000 calories a day, 225 carbs-ish a day. Okay. And I am the healthiest, hottest, happiest I've ever been. And my PCOS is not ruling my life anymore. And look at my skin. Okay. Anyways, I digress. Not to brag. But yeah, so then I just started sharing my PCOS journey, and then, having other clients come to me that have PCOS, and it's been really cool because I've been able to help not only myself lose all of that weight and keep it off. I've helped, my clients lose 10, 20, 40, 50 pounds who have PCOS and keep it off, and eating more than they ever have, and happier than they've ever been, and not taking birth control anymore, or taking 9 different prescriptions that the doctor hands you that you don't even need. And so it's really empowering, and it's really, really cool that my pain and my suffering is now my purpose, and that I'm able to help you guys and save you guys time, years of, energy, money, wasting your time, being frustrated, and digging yourself into a deeper hole. Because the longer that you put this off, or that you ignore these problems, you just make the hole harder to get out of, if that makes sense. And so it's really unfortunate that I had to go through all of this, but I wouldn't have it any other way, because now I get to save you so much time, money, and energy by doing things the right way, and doing things the easy way, and having a happy medium, and being balanced, and being happy, and eating dessert every single night, and being a normal, healthy person. And I didn't even tell you I have a regular period now. It's not perfect. It's about 50-ish days, but it does come every 50 days, and I'm continuing to work on that. And there's something where it's like it doesn't happen overnight. I've been working on this for years, like I said, and in 2021, I started getting my period every quarter, I would say, so like 4 times a year. And then now it's become more frequent to where it's about every 6 weeks. And so it's still a work in progress. I'm not perfect, and that's okay, but I have seen that I'm on the right path. I know that I've helped women restore their cycles, balance their hormones, lose the weight, going from infertility to healthy pregnancies where they have beautiful babies now, and they're able to support their bodies even postpartum and never get back to the position they were at, like never starting over and never suffering or restricting throughout the process. And yeah, so, by the end of 2026, my cycle will be regular 30 days. So yay for me. So I'm going to end it here as, I'm 29 now, like I said. And the biggest thing that I've realized is that, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you are suffering and you kind of put yourself on the back burner, maybe you're a mom and you always put your partner and your family before you, or your friends, I want you to channel that energy into 2026, okay? the way that you show up and that you are loyal and that you love others, I want you to show that to yourself this year. And it all starts with knowing that change is possible. Me and my clients are living, walking, breathing proof of it. Happiness is possible. You can have your cake and literally eat it every single night too. And I'm here to tell you that it's way easier than you think it is. And it really can be simple. And it doesn't take making fitness or health and wellness your whole entire life or personality trait. So it's about learning how to set boundaries, tell yourself no more often, tell people no more often in the name of self-love and learning what self-love really looks like. And I think that's going to be my next Instagram series, is the journey of self-love, because it's hard. And when you do that, everything really clicks, and then it will make, the strength training workouts, eating the right amount of calories and protein, and sleep and stress management, the 3 pillars that I always talk about of how to balance your hormones and lose the weight. But doing that alongside your own personal self-help, your own personal growth and healing journey by learning how to set boundaries and love yourself is really what ties everything together and will make this something that will last and actually unlock your true potential and your true happiness, and no longer settling in shitty jobs, loser boyfriends, unfulfilling careers. This has translated to every single aspect of my entire life, and it's truly crazy. Fitness and healing my PCOS has literally made me become the best, most healed, highest version of myself, and has allowed me to demand what I'm worth, walk into rooms and demand the raise, leave bad toxic relationships, set boundaries. And while all of that sounds amazing, it definitely isn't necessarily easy, but there is small tools that you can do along the way. And it's doing this fitness work, it's putting yourself first and starting with your health and wellness first, that teaches you the character, the discipline, the habits, and allows you to become the person who is capable of doing those things, because all of this is tied to your identity. And so this is an identity transformation more than it is a physical transformation. And once you can really get that, then that's when things stick and are yours to keep forever. This podcast is for my type A girlies who are working out 5 days a week, 10K steps a day, eating 1,000 calories a day, and stuck running yourself into the ground, wondering why you can't lose the weight. It's also for my type B girlies who like to go with the flow and, have some balance and just want a little bit more structure and systems and discipline to their life. It's for the women dealing with, the weight that just won't budge, or if you have PCOS or other hormonal conditions, then I'm your girl. And, mostly for the women who want to feel worthy and want to know what it feels like to truly love yourself, and not in a self-care kind of way, but in a relentless, I choose myself and I know my worth and value kind of way. I'm here to hold you and, hold your hand, but also to hold you accountable. I want you to feel safe. I want you to feel grounded. I want you to feel seen and heard and loved and supported as I'm still raising you up to a higher standard, because I'm going to give you that tough love because I care about you. And so if that's your kind of cup of tea of what you're looking for 2026 and for beyond, then stay tuned, because we are going to ramp things up and I'm going to show you the step-by-step process of all of that. I just wanted to show you guys my story and my journey and let you know I see you, I hear you, I've been you, and change is possible, healing is possible, happiness truly is possible, and it's your birthright. You deserve that. Yeah, you're worthy of all the love in the world. I love you always, and here's to never settling or putting yourself on the back burner again. Love you always. Catch you on the next one. Bye.